This is new, and we could go over how to create that in 1 second. I could turn that into my logo. Yes, that's right. That is right. So let's make it that size. It's going to be fine. I want to go with stroke, which is debatable of a point. An option. I don't need this to be like at 3%, 2%, 4%, maybe. Like just as light as it can be. Because it's going to take the gradients inside as a additional element. So this is like a pink E here, and then you have a bit of a blue around there. So that thing is going to take a radial gradient with a pure circle reversed, pink around here, greater around there, like subtle light around there. And then in order to have our transition proper, either I do that with a blue on the other side by default, is also an option to get like this with a blue. I have my transition, or I get like a secondary one. I guess I'm going to reverse this as a secondary option so that we have a bit of a better blue. So this is going to be 1% and this is going to be 0%. So that we have the same transition, but we're going to take this around here and invert the colors, not down there, but the colors right here. We have that undergraded inside of it. I feel like this is good. And then again, based on what I'm seeing here, we have a drop shadow. This one is going to be a bit complex and tricky on this one. We have multiple inner shadows that are going to create the outer darker, inner lighter, inner darker. So let me place that properly. I look at it closely. This is sharp and it's rounded over the edges. I doubt this is an option for this one to look similar, other than creating an outer shadow, drop shadow, kind of feeling this stuff. Let's see. We're going to do, you know what we're going to do? We're going to add with a fucking white background so that we can see a similar output, right? That would make more sense. That drop shadow is going to go through and behind. That we will have this whole thing. And let's see. It's going to be okay, but that's going to be weird. So we have a bit of an X differentiation like this. Not much, like something at 2. It's going to be enough to give us the offset. The blur is similar, and I feel like it needs to take a bit of a blue. This seems wrong. I also feel like it would be better if it was blue, so a dark base, but blue still. And we're going to probably make that lighter. 10 seems pretty good for the transition. That seems similar. So this is going to be pretty good, I think. So far, let's create a secondary one, which is going to be the drop shadow. I have here, it is here, this, a lot. It seems it's greater than 4 and probably more blurred, which is what will make it bad. If you look closely here, you can see that the shadow is darker around there than it is around here. This is because the glass is translucent, and therefore there is light coming through. And in mind, here we need to have some sort of a let's blue, purple. You know what? Maybe a bit of a bluey, purpley bitch would be good. Be with it anyway. Oh, sorry, I can fake the thing. I'm seeing a potential fake right there. I can have light going through because it's just taking the border and not everything. And so it's bringing in, oh, that's an interesting thing. Wasn't supposed to happen, but it happened still. That remove one of the layers of shadows that we need to do. That's cool. Have another one which will be an inner shadow as well. It's going to be reversed. So this is going to be minus 3 probably, and this is going to be a minus 4, 3. Yeah, probably minus 3 to make sure that we have something. And this is going to be quite less blur. It looks really sharp. Yeah, that's working. Not entirely, but working. It's not good enough though for me. I feel like minus 2 and just minus 1 might be, you know what? Minus 2 on both. It's going to be pretty good to have the same angle as the other one. It seems I need to duplicate it, debatable, to have it like brighter, but I feel it all, as always. So this one is going to be -1 and y -2, -1 as well. So it's just offsetted to highlight more content side thing with a blur of 1 potential. And in order to get our effect to work, I am debating my drop shadow to work. I'm going to try to get my drop shadow, this one, to be show behind, to go through, but it still feels really weird and I don't like it. But it's more glass already. Yeah, we can make it lighter by having more brown here. I might just do that, but just do that doesn't work. Shit. Fine. As said, we have a bit of a light coming in here, which is another inner shadow white from the inside. I'm scared. I'm scared. So this is going to be a 2.5 blur situation with an X of 1.5 and a Y of probably 1.5 as well to have a perfect 45-degree thing. And that's going to be pure white, pure white. You know what? I'm going to make it 100%. And I'm going to see if a lighten could help. Nope, an overlay could help. Not a blending mode, that's for sure. But I need a tad of blur. So maybe a 1-off blur would help and a less backgroundy thing. Background is pure white. I fear this is not pure white. It's a gradient, obviously, so that our lines of, like the highlight of the glass is going to be going through. And now, obviously, because I'm looking at it, these two inner shadows from here, the inners are really big. So maybe we can make it -2, -1 on this one. And a blur of 2 could help round the edges, which blur do help, but again, I fear that the drop shadow is what's the issue, as in it needs to be darker and lighter at the same time. So I need to get it closer to the color we need to be, which is going to be more purpley gray. And that helps. What I'm seeing, which is something that with the type of design that I have right there, is this edge is sharp for the shadow itself, because that corner right there has a very flat side. So the shadow that is dropped, it's a drop shadow, is sharp-ish. It has a bit of a blend right there, but that's not really something that we can do unless we cheat a little. Just a smidge. I might cheat a little. So how am I going to cheat a little? It's basically on the background itself, where instead of having just a background, which is one single color, we're going to add angle gradients that blends in with the shadow at one point. So the only point that we have that could be sharp is around here or on the eyes. I feel like this one is going to be pretty easy. I'm going to add this as an addition, take this color specifically, and use that to create an angular gradient. That angular gradient is going to be ported right there with either 45. I feel like 45 is going to be pretty good. And reverse it, make sure they touch the head, and then the other side right there blends in. We're going to do, and then do something like this, kind of match. That's the angle we want, right? That will give us a bit of a sharpness on that border. You can see that we can adjust that value by making this less opaque. And then once we have the right angle, I feel like here it's going to be pretty good. And we have the right points. Going to make sure that the point is right there. Only thing that we need to do is blend in that shadow on top. So we just need another addition of this background color with radial gradient, burdened with that color around here, blending edge right there. Kinda, it gives us this fall off, but it doesn't bleed too much so that it's overpowering the rest of the thing. That's an option, not great. But in order to make it what? In order to make it really good, we need like a secondary option, second one for the bottom right there. So instead of doing like second one, I'm going to just use this one, duplicate it, place it on the other side right there, and then make sure that we have the right angle. It's going to be reversed. So this is going to be here, there, there. Attempt to get the similar angle. It's not a 45, but it is a 45. I mean, you don't know, but I know. That point is a bitch right there. You are supposed to be inside, yes, like right there. So bleeding in, bleeding out a tad. I don't like the angle. I cool. And then secondary, these same thing. We need to duplicate it to make sure that this one is cropping. So because we are using it as a background element, it's placed exactly where the skull is right now to give us our kind of sharp-ish shadows and bleed through. But that only works because our current skull has some drop shadows that are there. We remove the drop shadows. They're still in place, but it's not as good. That's something I don't think I can do anything more right there. Like it doesn't seem to be an option. What are we thinking? The Apple one is better. Yes, I know. I know. I feel like my drop shadow is bad. That's the main thing that I'm seeing. I don't really like. And then also the fact that my skull itself is not symmetrical, properly symmetrical, doesn't work. But we have the darkened top right there. We have the highlight, which is not really visible, which is sad because we don't have the drop shadow. We could add that. But that will help because it's a border and not a shape. We can't use a border to create that, which I think would help a ton. So if I do that, and oh, that's going to be so bad, and do that, you see the issue with the fucking cheating right there? That let's replace these. The second one is massively strong. That one, god damn. Like it needs to be lighter by not much, but still, god damn. 60 on both, so that's fine. But the thing that I had in mind is potentially, maybe as an option, I could have a stroke on the center or on the outside, it depends, and then use that to my advantage by having it with its color specifically, like that outside color, the darkest one here on everything, and then dropping that with this, with the angle and placing it properly in a way that makes sense. That kind of helps to give us the outline that the Apple logo got, right? That differentiation between dark, light, dark. And I get that with the dark, light, dark around here. It could benefit from being a tad smaller than what it is right now, like a 0.2 or 0.5 could to get it better, but also it could benefit from being blurred. And that would imply a duplicate, which I don't want to do. That duplicate is going to take this plus none of the effects other than potentially having, not that, potentially having a layer blur right here. And I can do this with a 1 that just bleeds in as a shiny, highlighty thing. So it doesn't really impact the background option. I can remove it from here and not be too impactful. I feel like this is okay, which basically means I could do that here. I'm not going to do it. But yeah, it's really pink though. Like I may have forced the pink a tad too much. That 10% instead of 20% might be a bit more glassy than what it was earlier. I feel like that's better overall. But it kind of worked pretty good. From looking at this one, which is a solid version, debatable, pretty good. Debatable, pretty good. Yeah, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that.